in video number 1, I left out something. Let me go back and cover it. Let's go back to Orange Pi 5 Plus. Go back to the home page. Go back to Amazon. And one of the things that I forgot to mention here is when you scroll down the page a little bit, there's a combination of where you can get an Orange Pi 5 Plus 16 gigabyte memory, and you can get a little module which plugs into a slot on the board for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. I didn't go this route because I have dongles left over from other computers for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But there is one other thing here that you might consider, and that's this case. And the case allows you to protect your Orange Pi 5 Plus and cool it. The case, which is aluminum, sheet aluminum bent in a clamshell type form factor, comes with the metal case here, comes with a fan and 4 heat sinks. And here you see the shell or case assembled. You can see the Orange Pi in there with the 2 connectors to the fan and the Orange Pi in there. And there is a picture with the showing all the inputs and outputs that connect to the Orange Pi. Here's the bottom. It comes with rubber feet. And this photo or image here is very important because it shows you the 2 pins on the 40-pin GPIO headers, where to put the red for the plus and the black for ground, and it's pins 2 and 3, and they're on the outside row of the header. Also, it shows you the 4 heat sinks in place for the CPU, the memory, and one other chip here, probably the flash memory. So keep this in mind if you go and order a case. Comes with all the screws to mount it, the heatsink and everything, and I sent them an email. 1 screw is missing. One of the things when you put the, let's see if we see the bottom of the, I don't think we see the bottom of the board, but if you remember from the first video from Clements, on the bottom of the board there's a slot for an NVMe solid state drive with a 2280 form factor. There's a post for holding down the end, but neither the solid state drive nor the case nor the Orange Pi comes with a screw, and it's a weird screw. It's not one that you'd most likely have lying around in the shop, a jar, or any place else. So hopefully they can supply one in the future. Okay, let's go back to the terminal and talk about it. I'd mentioned the header. You can roll up this thing, and what you do in a terminal, and the reason it's called a terminal is back in the 70s and 80s there wasn't any graphics, and everything was done with a typewriter or teletype or something like a Lear Siegler Atom 3A CRT display, and everything was ASCII, no fancy graphics. So everything's done from a command line, and you're typing or interfacing with a shell, a application or program that takes your input and parses it, figures out what command you want to execute, pass parameters called flags, and also file names, etc. to the command. So let's look at some of the commands. The first one I want to look at is the update and the upgrade. We're going to look at the apt. Now, if I give you a command and you don't understand it or you want to know more about it, there's what is called the manual pages or man pages. So you type in man and the command as it would be typed in, it's like apt, Advanced Package Tool. And it says this command line interface provides a high-level command line interface for the package management system. And it's a lot of reading. You use the space bar to go to the next page. You can use the up and down arrows to move back and forth. And the two parameters we'll use most is update, and it's used to download the package information from all the sources. And then upgrade is to install any upgrades, anything such as security fixes or brand new versions of packages, commands, or a series or multiple commands, upgrade them and install them. And then there's a full upgrade, which will be done if there is a new release of the kernel, like you want to go from, let's say, Ubuntu 22.04 to the next version whenever it comes out. Maybe it's 22.10 or whatever. To quit, you just do a Q, and you go back to your command line. So I'm going to, now the package tool must be done as root. So you do a substitute user do apt, and there's two versions. There's an apt and an apt-get. And I prefer the apt because it shows me a progress. Since you and I just upgraded to a solid state drive, we installed the image from Orange Pi, and since it was created, a lot of stuff has been done to the system. So we're going to do an update, which says, okay, read in all the information, and we're going to use it to determine what's changed in our system. I'm going to do two commands in one line. The way you do that is type in a semicolon, and then you type in a second command. This would be like typing in two lines, but I'm going to do it all at once. So sudo apt upgrade, which says look at changes in packages and upgrade, replace packages with things that have been improved, etc. Now I do not want to respond to this second command, so I'm going to say -y for yes, which means it's going to ask if you want to upgrade such and such, and I don't want to waste time with that, so I'll just say yes to all. And then you hit the return. Then you need the password, ORANGEPI. And then it goes out here and it looks on the web at all these places where there are updates. I'd already run this, so there wasn't anything new. There is an option, and I believe it's free, to go to Ubuntu Pro and get some updates for free, and we'll come back and look at that. There are some packages which are not upgraded. The following packages have been kept back, and I'll have to look at why we did that. It's not of concern right now. So you do that a couple of times a week. All right, going back to the shell. Now the shell that you're running is called the Bourne, B-O-U-R-N-E, again shell, and it's a play on words because Dr. Bourne had written a Bourne shell, which was called bash, and it's, it was called SH for the Bourne shell, and then the new version, which came out around 1986, was called the Born Again shell, and it's bash. If I look to see, here's a command to look at what processes are running in control from this window. So I'll do a PS for process status, and it shows that there is PS, the command that I just typed in, plus the shell, BASH. And there are books on the shell, and I will point them to you by the end of this lecture. Now what I want to do is, for the shell, there's a prompt, and it gives me my username, Orange Pie. Then there's an @ followed by the name of the system that I am working on. And the reason for that is there's a possibility that you can remote log in from one computer to another. And you can do that by name, and later on when we get to more advanced stuff, we'll do that. And to prevent you from making a mistake on one system when you think you're on another, that's why the prompt has the system name, followed by a colon, and then there's a blue tilde there, and that means that I'm in my home directory for the user Orange Pie. Then the $sign is the prompt symbol from the shell, and some shells have a different symbol, a space, and then the cursor sitting there ready for you to type in something if you want. So all this is to show you who you are on what system, and to show you that the shell is working and waiting for your response. Now, the normal default on a window when I open it, or terminal, is 80 by 24. I'm chewing up 80, part of the 80 columns, by the system name and my username. So I'm going to show you how to change the name of the system. The name of the system is called the host name. You want to find out the name of the system, type host name, and it shows you that it's Orange Pie Plus. I'm going to use a graphic tool to change the name just to show you how this works. So go up here to the pull down menu, go to settings. In settings, go down to, if I can keep from moving the mouse everywhere, go down here to Orange Pie Config, which is Orange Pie configuration. If I bring it up, I first need to do the root password. And it brings up this little window. And I can do things like do the system security settings. I can do network operations such as Bluetooth and wireless, and for the wired. Personal, I can change the time zone and the language and the host name. I'm going to leave the language alone because I'm comfortable with English. So let's do two things. I'm going to change the time zone, and I'm going to change the host name. So let's go down to personal, hit return. It comes up and says, okay, time zone, change the time zone. Hit return because that's what I want to do. And it says I have all these options, and you can move up and down them with arrows or with the scroll button. So let's go, we started out with Africa, America, Antarctica, and everything. We're down in the U.S. Probably America would work also, so do a return. And I have choice of Alaska, the Aleutian Islands. I'm in Arizona, or I can do Central Time, Eastern Time, Hawaii. Stark County in Indiana must not do daylight savings. So let's go back to Arizona, hit return, and it says that I changed it. And if I go up here and look at my clock, it's correct with my time on my wall clock. Let's go change the host name. Change your host name. The host name now is Orange Pi Plus. So let me backspace over that. And you may name your system whatever you want. I'm going to name mine Colossus, C-O-L-O-S-S-U-S. This is the name of the computer system in the movie that was done in 1970 called Colossus, the Forbin Project. If you have not seen it, you should see it because it could probably be just as true today and scary as it was then. So I've got my host name and I do return, and I need to log out to make the changes effective because when I brought up this window, the name of the system was Orange Pi Plus, and that won't take effect until I do a new one. So, okay. Let's go back, do a right arrow, go back, and then let's exit. That's everything that I want to do here. Let me kill off this terminal. I showed you how to do it with this little kill button, but I can also do it by just doing an exit. Let's go back and open up a new terminal emulator. Voila. Now you see that my system name is now Colossus. If I do host name, name of my system is Colossus. So it takes up less line, and I'm going to change the username, but the username is not as simple as it should be. So let's wait till you and I get more advanced. Well, you get more advanced because it's a dangerous move. All right. Well, let's just spend a little more time on the terminal here. Make sure that I cover everything. There is these 4 buttons. The X on the right-hand side is the kill button, which terminates the window, the terminal. So I have to go and start another one if I want to do things. This is the next button here with the little square is the maximize button, which says if I click on it with the left mouse button, it makes it the size of the screen. So it occupies everything, and you need this for things that take up a lot of text across the line. If I go up here to the window bar and hit the maximize again, the window returns to the original size and place where it was. Let's move it over here to the side. Maximize it. Takes up the whole screen. If I maximize it again, it reduces it back to the original size and the place where it was when I did the original maximize. The minus sign here is the minimize, and what it will do is it will remove the terminal window from the display and put a little tab here in the taskbar. This main thing across here is a taskbar. I have 2 tasks running. I have the recorder and I have the terminal window. I showed you that if I hit the minimize here, the window disappears and the tab appears up here. in the taskbar, I can bring the window back by left-clicking on this tab. So you can go back and forth. I can minimize the terminal window by left-clicking on the tab. So you have two ways to move it back and, well, move it, hide it, and then to bring it back. Then the last little up arrow here is kind of like a roll up. If I left click on it, the terminal input part of the window disappears. So I've just got this tab and I can move it around. And if I bring down another terminal emulator, roll it up, if I put it here, I have two of them and I can go and bring them back. Or move them to the taskbar. What was the other thing that I needed to do? I think that's it. You know, I'm going to give you some references on Unix or Linux commands. Let me just show you a couple here. We're using the born again shell. To find out what shell I'm using and what I'm doing, I can do PS for list my processes, process status, and it shows that I have two commands in this column that are running. First of all is the PS command itself, and then the shell, which is interpreting commands that I type in. Shows the amount of CPU time they've used. I haven't done anything significant, so the time here is 0. The TTY is is just a carryover from the days when we used teletypes. And the PID is the process ID. Every time you do a task, an application, it's assigned a process ID number and then given to the kernel via the shell to execute and do its thing and then terminate, or there's several things that can happen. We'll look at that. But this PID number, there's a unique one, and since I've booted, there's been over almost 21,000 tasks done, and there's a bunch of them done on startup, and so there's a lot of activity going on. The ls command we've seen, and this shows all my directories. I've added two directories. One is a drive, which is a directory for my USB thumb drive. If I CD to change directory to drive, I move into that directory. If I do a ls there, it shows that I'm currently creating this file. I know it's being created because the screen recorder is going, and it's an MP4 file, and it started at 8:46:59. So I can use that too. So I've been going about 11 minutes, 12 minutes. If I want to really know how long I'm going, I just bring back the recorder, and right here is the time. Total time's 24 minutes. Whoops, 24 minutes. Okay, I'm about to run out of time here in my 30-minute thing. If you want to know what a command does, do the man page. I think I already mentioned that. I'll do it again. Man, ls, and it'll show you list directory contents, and then it'll show you all the options. -A for all. Block size, color, if I want a different color, and the -H for human readable length, and L for long. So ls -LH shows me that there's a lost and found directory System creates that for every file system, for every drive, for every partition. And then I've got 61 megabytes for my MP4 file. And there's some permissions here which we will look at later. Going back up here, there's a remove directory. Let's remove the directory primes. One of the first projects we're going to do is create prime numbers. And I want that to be in a separate directory. So I use the make dir command, make directory, primes. Wait, first of all, do an ls. And you see 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 directories, make directory primes. Now do an ls. Now I have 10 directories, and you see that primes is here. And the way the system is set up, by default, the shell here is going to show directories in blue, and plain files will be in white. A couple of more commands, and then I'll go off and do something. Let's do a date. The date shows me it's Monday, July 4th. It's 9:13 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, year 2023. And you say, well, what do I need that for? I got it up here in this window, up here in the bar, task bar, and I can bring down a calendar using a left-click mouse button on it. But I can use this to output the date and time and put it into a file. All right, passwords. Right now, my password is Orange Pi Plus, right? Let's change it. So to change the password, you type PASSWD. And it says changing password for Orange Pi. To keep a hacker from doing it for you, you have to type in your current password, which is Orange Pi, ORANGE-PI. Now it prompts you for a new password. Be very careful here because it does not output what you feed it in case somebody's standing behind you. So I'm going to enter a new password. Hit return, and it wants you to retype it to make sure you don't make a mistake. Password update. So now if I do anything that requires my password, I've got a new one. Now, somebody a long, long time ago modified this routine from Unix. There was a tricky thing that I used, and that was the old version of the password used to take a backspace. So if somebody's standing behind you, you could type in, you're going to change your password. So you could be typing it in, hit the backspace or the delete, and type in some more letters, and do that twice. The backspace became a part of the password. And if anybody, hacker standing behind you and saw that, they would throw away the backspace. Okay. Now, there's a which command says, if I type in a command like which ls, well, it's the ls that's in user bin, which it's the command that's in user bin. I want to, what was I going to do? Oh, if I want to find out if a command is installed, I'll do a which. And this is the visual editor. That's a replacement for VI, the visual editor. All right. For editors, if you look at the books and you look at YouTube videos, there are people showing you how to use a simple editors. One of them's called Nano, another one's called Pico, etc. I'm going to use VI, which is a visual editor, written by Bill Joy when he was a graduate student at UC Berkeley. Bill went on to be one of the founders of Sun Microsystems, made millions of dollars, and has retired. But every day I thank Bill for this editor. Now, everybody's going to poo-poo me, and everybody's going to say, what an idiot. Don't teach students how to use VI. It's too complicated. Well, that's not true. To learn VI, type in VI tutor. VIM tutor. And so here it's going to show you how to use the editor. And what you do is you work your way through this file, and VI is used for touch typists. So you keep your fingers, if you don't know how to do touch typing, you're going to need to learn it. And the reason why I'm showing you, and I want you to learn VI, is because I'm going to use it a lot in developing programs and other things, modifying configuration files, etc. So the J key, and the letter J has a descender, so if you type the letter J, it goes and moves the cursor straight down. Now the letter L is on your right hand side, so if you type L, it's going to move the cursor to the left. Excuse me. Got the coughs. If you type H, it moves to the left. And just read this. Commands in this lessons will modify the text and make sure the caps lock key is not gone. Moving the cursor. To move the cursor, press the H, J, K, and L keys as indicated. K has an ascender, so it moves up. J descender. L moves to the right because it's on the right, and H is on the left. So you can move the cursor around to your comfy. On a blank line, you can't move left and you can't move right because there's no characters there. Okay, and if you're ever unsure about something you type escape to place you in a normal mode. That is, if you type in something other than H, J, K, or L, you may put the editor in a command mode. Okay, so that's lesson 1 is how to move. Lesson 2 is how to exit. You can press the escape key. Make sure that you're in the normal mode. Type :Q. Notice it popped to the bottom of the screen, and then the bang or exclamation point. It's called bang by Unix people because Unix was around when Batman was popular, and remember in the cartoons and in comic books they used the words bang and bam for punches, so there was an exclamation point. So it's Q bang and hit return and it quits. Then when you get ready to do another lesson, you do VIM tutor again. Starts over and you have to, go down to where you were. Okay, so practice on VI. That's my editor of choice. You can use whatever you want. It's just I'm going to be faster than you are. One other thing. Let's see where I am. I'm into 34 minutes. That's not too bad. Let's look at some resources. I'm going to show you. Go to the web. It's where everything is. In 1976, I wrote a book on the Motorola 6800 8-bit microprocessor. In the first chapter, I said, and I went through all the technology we have developed, or the major things since we came out of the caves. And I said the goal of the human race is to get all of human knowledge available to every man, woman, and child on the planet at their fingertips. And we've just about, well, we still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. If you've got a smartphone, you can Google, search for whatever you want on the web and answer Trivial Pursuit questions or whatever. All right, here is a place called archive.org. They're kind of the Library of Congress for the internet. And on here, there are things like web pages. There are 823 billion web pages. This thing goes out and mines the internet for pages, and it archives them. Up here is a Wayback Machine. It says enter a URL or keywords. And so if there was a web page that you are missing, that it just disappeared, for whatever reason, it may be archived. I used to do a web page 5 or more years ago. Well, let me left click here so I can enter it. And my web page was www.k7qo.com. Hit return. It goes and looks at its archives and it says, okay, from 2000 to 2023, these are years in which I have captured the contents of it. So let's look at 2020. And I see that November 11th, I got 2 snapshots here. Let's take the almost midnight one. Left click on it. And it's going to go out, get it off of a disk, bring it up. And here you can see this is welcome to the home page of me. And it was last updated November 10th of 2020. And I got some web pages for papers and stuff I did. I used to have some old YouTube. Here's a map of, I used to be a radio amateur using 4 watts and Morse code. I talked to all these states that are in color. The blue ones I got a card from, the green ones I talked to, but I haven't exchanged a card with. Then here's a world map of all the countries. I talked to somebody in Australia several times. Russia, Argentina, Mexico, Alaska, Canada, Greenland, all these places. But we're not interested. So you're not interested in that page, but you may have something that you lost or want. Let me go back. Come on. Speed up. Go back. All right. So there are 823 billion web pages. There are 38 million books and text. There are 10 million videos, probably captured off of YouTube and other places. There are 15 million audio files. There are 2.6 million TV shows, 1 million programs, and 4.7 million photos, podcasts, concerts, 251,000 concerts. So if you want to go back to ZZ Top or hello? Let's see, am I still? Yeah, okay, I was worried about something. Might look for concerts there, and then there's 1.8 million of other collections. Now I want to search. First thing we're going to look for is shell programming. So we can do shell programming, and we'll see what books are available. And there are a bunch. Now, this is a library of digital library loans. So let's look at Unix shell programming. Click on it, it brings it up, and you get a cover, shows you the page, and you have to be logged in So you need to create a free account. And now I want to read this book, I'm going to have to check it out. So I'm going to borrow it for 1 hour. So it's just like going to your library. And it's it when this disappears. I think it disappears, yes. Turns red and says, when you're through reading it, return it. So if you finish faster than an hour, you can return it. If you still need it more, check it out again. So left click on the page and it turns it. 4th edition. And this was scanned in because it's gray. And if you want to read it larger print, toggle to full screen mode. So it's just like having the book. I want you to read this one. So it's got some cartoons in here, some little handy snippets of knowledge, shows you and talks to you about what the shell is, simplicity, the different types of shells on different systems. Here's the Bourne shell, which is done by Dr. S.R. Bourne, how to execute it. There's a corn shell. There's a C shell done by Bill Joy. He also did the VI editor. So you can learn. And there are other books, so you just pick one you like. One other book that I'm interested in, I'm going to do projects in C. You can pick the language of your choice. Right now, probably the most used and abused language is Python. Seems the universities go through phases. Back in the 70s, it was basic because the systems were simple. Then in starting in the 80s, we switched to Pascal. Then later they went to Java, and now it's Python. I'm going to compete with you, and I'm going to show you that you can't beat me on speed with any other language. For a while in engineering and mathematics, everybody was doing Fortran, but I gave up on Fortran because the Fortran 9099 and the latest versions of Fortran were just too much typing for me. So let's look at C programming. The books that are available. And number 2 is the Bible. The first book written was by Kernahan and Ritchie, called the C Programming Language. This is the 2nd edition, and it has the ANSI C standard. This book is available, and you don't have to check it out. And if you see a book like this, you go down here and you can download it. So if I want the PDF of the book, I just left click on PDF, and it downloads it, and I can save it. I can save it to a file. Actually, it'll put it in the download directory, but I've already got it there, so I'll cancel that so you can download it. Also, there is the full text, which they use a program called Find, and they will translate a book to ASCII. So if there's a program you're reading the book, and if there's a program you want to test or write, you don't have to type it in. Go down here and find it. Here's the first program. Include. So I can highlight it. I can do copy. Then I can go to a shell. Let me do a make directory C programs. Oh, Linux and Unix do not like blanks in file names. We go into the directory. I'm going to type VI, and this is test.c. It's a C program. I go into input mode or insert and then do a paste. and I get the program. Now the thing about the VI and Vim editor is that keywords get converted to a different color. So I will just show you this. To compile it, I'll use the C compiler. Now I get a warning. I know how to fix this. Whoops. I don't care. It doesn't return a value that I'm concerned with. Now gcc test.c. Compile it, no error messages. If I do an ls, this creates an executable file called a.out. To execute it, I have to put ./a.out, the name of the program. There's a security reason why you need the ./ that just says in the current directory, execute the program, executable a.out. So I'm going to execute it, and it says hello world. Okay. So we're going to start learning C, and you can get the book and start reading it, and then I'll show you how to execute the program. One more thing, let you go. Sorry. I'm doing a memory dump here. I want you to know everything there is to know. Let's go back to the web. Let's go back to YouTube. And there is a thing, I think it's called the MGM Sphere, Las Vegas. This is a new critter made up in Las Vegas. It's adjacent to the Venetian casino, and I think this is the first night. Okay, this is a new one. Let's see if that's, it was started July the 4th. Let's see, do I have one that says July the 4th? And it is, grand opening. Now I want you to watch this. Okay, skip the ad, Grammarly. Going to get me hooked on it. Skip ads. The grand opening. Now watch this. It's got 580,000 LEDs. Watch this, here it goes. There it is. Hello world. It evidently whoever did this or programmed it knows Linux and knows C. I thought that I was so surprised by that. You can watch the complete video. I'm done. Sorry to keep you 48 minutes here, but hopefully it was entertaining. So your assignment for next time is to learn VI and possibly start learning C programming. If you want to do Python, that's fine. But I challenge you to beat my speeds on the first project. Thank you for your time. I sincerely appreciate it, and I hope you appreciate the effort that I put into these. So let's pause this, and I'm going to save it, and you get to look at it.